Sit down, please. Good afternoon. We are here again on the Relationship and Marriage Hour, and it's so good to be back with you. I understand you're having a bit of cold in Canada right now, but stay warm and share this time with us as we talk about coping with chronic illness in relationship. We know that things can happen. We start off on a good foot in a relationship, and down the road, you find that someone has a problem and it affects the marriage. But we want to see how we can best cope with a chronic illness in a relationship. So, just before we get started, we have with us Dr. Alvin Hebern, and of course, you know who he is, and I'm Dr. Marie McDonald. And this is the Relationships and Marriage Hour. And you are watching this or listening to Love Bay Radio Talk, Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio, the number one African Caribbean diaspora online radio in Canada. And we want you to subscribe, we want you to like, we want you to click on X and all of the social media, Facebook, StreamYard, X, and like, subscribe, and share. Let someone know that the Relationship Hour is on the radio. So please follow us. IG, Facebook, IG, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, StreamYard, X. And then we want you to like, subscribe, and share. Okay, so we are going to dive right into our topic for the evening, coping with chronic illness. And Dr. Alvin, as I've said, we often start out and everything looks well, and later down the road, something happens. And it could change the whole trajectory of a relationship. But dealing with uh, um, chronic illness, it's no joke. But we can help our significant other, we can help our spouse as they go through the difficult time. We can be there for them. We can be the shoulder for them to lean on. We can let them know we understand. We may not be able to identify, but we understand to a point what they're going through. And I believe it makes a whole lot of difference. Sometimes we would find maybe the person may become a bit annoyed or angry because of the situation, but we can help that person go through and bear what they have learned. And Alvin, I was watching something on the news just yesterday. This little boy, while in primary school, stepped on a rusty nail, and both of his legs were amputated, as well as his fingers,
Oh
they
yeah, I
were
saw that.
affected. And to see his attitude in all of this, losing all of that, but yet his attitude was such a pleasant one. It encouraged someone watching. So, in hard time or hard place for some people, we can be there to make a difference for them. Just watching that little
Mhm,
boy encouraged me. And there are
mhm,
times in a relationship, maybe your illness is chronic, maybe it's diabetes, maybe it's cancer, maybe it's something, and we can become bitter, Dr. Alvin. But if it's our spouse, we can assure them that we are there. I want you to share what is your take on such a situation. How do you think we can encourage our listening audience to cope with chronic illness?
okay. Um, Good evening. Well, good afternoon. Not in evening yet. Good afternoon, Doc. And once again, this is a fitting topic and one that people tend not to even consider when married or getting married. They they think that the person that they are going to tie the knot with is the same person, the same healthy person is going to be for the totality of the relationship. And you and I know that that's not always the case. Technically, I don't think that's ever the case. For any relationship to last for a very long time, there will be sicknesses, there will be problems that will arise over the years, because over time, all of our bodies are basically dying. So if our bodies are dying, we are going to lose some of the vigor, some of the strength, some of the go with all that we have now. So over time, that will happen. When we talk about illness, that takes it to another level, Doc. And what I mean by that is, if you have the flu, yes, I baby you for a day, maybe at most 7 days, and you get over it and you back to yourself. And then life goes on. If I break my leg, okay, God forbid, but if that do happen, that's going to cause issues maybe for a couple of months. But after that, once my leg is healed, I get up and we move on. But a chronic illness is something that is continuous, day after day after day after day. And that can play a major toll. And when I say that, I think, Doc, that it can play a mental toll, it can play a physical toll, and also a spiritual toll. Whether you want to believe it or not, I don't think anybody enters a marriage saying, listen, um, we get married and I want you now to become paralyzed so I can take care of you for the rest of my life. And because this is a real talk show, we're talking about real experiences, um, and things that are happening, and we want to mimic reality. Most of the times when the man get married, he get married so he can have sex. If his wife is now paralyzed, let's say from the waist down, now she's not able to bathe herself or clean herself like she normally used to, then he has to come there, change her pampers or her depends or whatever she's doing. He has to come, he has to help clean her up. And I'm not talking um, in hyperbolic situations, I'm talking in situations that I have counseled people or helped people through. I made a vow to this woman till death. Yes. She is sick. Yes. I love her. Yes. But I still man. I still have my feelings. I still want to do stuff. But I can't do that. That now brings a great discipline on you as the spouse to deny yourself and to love that woman like you told her you're going to do it. And that's why, Doc, I tell people that love is more than just a feeling. Love is a knowing, it is an action word. And because I told you I will love you in sickness and in health, I mean that. Now, that can play a major role on you mentally. But like we have discussed time past, that marriage is not for the weak. It is for the mature person. It is for the person who wants to be selfless and give themselves to another person. And this chronic illness, chronic disease, Doc, to be real with you, I have seen situations and heard of situations where that was the deal breaker, that people left the marriage and left the person to defend for themselves or say, you need to go back home to your parents because I'm not going to baby you. I'm not going to be that person. However, when you say I do, you say I do for life.
Wow. And that's a real situation, Dr. Alvin. But,
Hmm.
when persons go through chronic illnesses, the first thing we need to do for our spouse is to show love and that support. One of the things that we have to realize or should realize is that their illness is not actually them.
Hmm.
It is something that could have happened to any one of us. And
Hmm.
I think that is where there has to be that understanding what that person is going through. And because of how we deal with it, it will determine how well and how quickly that person can feel better or adjust to their situation. Being chronically ill, you know, it can tell a toll on you on,
Yes.
on both parties, because number one, if I'm the one with the illness, I may be feeling bad. Everyone have to do everything for me. I can't do for myself. Whereas the spouse may be feeling bad because they know that they cannot help the situation, but they're wishing that it can be helped. But the one thing we can do is be there, be that support for them. And it doesn't mean you have to be with them 24/7, Dr. Alvin. We
Mm-mm.
can find persons that will help in the situation while you continue to work, while you continue to keep normalcy in the relationship. And
Hmm.
that alone is a help right there.
Yes.
You have to be emotionally connected to your spouse, especially in a time like this, so that you can help them with their healing. Usually, people tend to become or feel rejected, Dr. Alvin, especially in these kind of times, because if they do not see their husband or their wife supporting them or there with them in a chronic situation, then they may feel that they are not loved, and this is what
Mm-hmm.
creates a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So while that person may be feeling, you know, they hate themselves for being in this situation, that other spouse can let them know, look, I am here for you. I'm here to support you. Because if we were in their situation, it would be hard for us, or we may feel perhaps the same way. So, how we
Mm-hmm.
deal with the one that is going through, it makes a whole lot of difference, and it can improve the situation. So, I would say for the person that has that chronic illness, they have to be compassionate towards their own self. Be
Yes.
compassionate. Do not think it's such a, why do I have to be sick? And you begin to be hard on yourself. But be compassionate about it with yourself, because it is something that could happen to any one of us,
Mm-hmm.
right? And sometimes we want to try and see how active we can remain,
Mm-hmm.
depending on what your chronic situation is. You know, try to see
Yeah.
how much we can carry on and continue to be active.
Mm-hmm.
And that's right there is a big help for your spouse. Because when your spouse see that you're active, you're trying to do things, you're trying to help, it makes their burden easier.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boy,
So,
but dog, that's rough. And I told you the story last week with my friend who, in 6 months of marriage,
mhm.
him and his wife found out that she had fourth stage cancer. Um, and they battled that for many years before she passed. Um, and everyone, and even I said to him, "Boy, we honor you because where many men would have just picked up and left. You stuck there. You sat there. You helped her. You was there to turn her over, and he even brought his mother in so that while he was at work, his mother could be there because his mother had retired, so his mother could have been there with her. So if she needs anything, he had that covered. But boy, doc, that is hard work. That is hard work.
So Dr. Alvin, then I would like to know, do you think that one can be happy even in such a situation where there's chronic illness? Do you think one can be happy?
Yes,
Hmm.
yes, I do. Because okay, this is, and I think I've shared this story be for doc, um, where I was contemplating who's now my wife Tanya at the time. At at, at the time, she was just a girlfriend of mine, and I had a conversation, not with her, but I had a conversation with the Lord, and in that conversation, He asked me some questions, and the questions was some of the questions was, what if Tanya's in a serious accident and she becomes disfigured? Would you still love her? And I thought about that, dog, because the kind of person I am, um, seeing disfigured people and all of that turns up my stomach. I'm easily scornful, you could say. Um, so I had to think about that. And I said, boy, but guess what? I love Tanya. And she's more than just her skin. So then the voice was like, okay, what about if in this accident she loses a hand and a leg? Would you still love her? And my answer came out to be yes. Reason being, because a hand and a leg is not who the person is. There is what draws you to them is their spirit, is the way they carry themselves, is their principal values, and all of that type stuff. So a person who now become chronically ill, their spirit and the thing that should have would draw you so you could love them is still intact. So that connection should still be there. Now it's up to the individual to decide whether they want to keep the connection. Because we have some superficial persons who are only after you for your looks, your bank book. That's the two things they after. But if you could find someone who's generally or genuinely in it for you, who loves you, then if you lose a limb, they should still love you. And in chronic illness, they should still love you. Actually, I think that the love will even grow more, and there will be more compassion. Why? Because the one I love is ill. And the natural thing to do is to protect and to take care of your own. So if I see Tanya ill, my natural response should be, that's my body, that's my wife, I need to be there for her. Did that make sense, Doc?
I like that. I like that Because what you're saying to me now is that you are adjusting the way you think or your
Mhm.
thoughts towards her. And now
Mhm.
you take it on because when you made the vow, you said for better or for worse. And therefore, because you made that vow, you're showing that you are being a man to your word. I am going to be here to take care of her. So you can't be happy in that situation because what you're going to do is master your mind. This is my wife, and she needs me now. So
Mhm.
you have a mind shift. She can't do for herself right now. I have to do for her. Or even if they're able to, I'm going to be sympathetic and help her because or help him because I know now his health has been compromised. So
Yes.
you have to change your mindset. And I think the reason why some people cannot adjust is because they keep the same mindset. You have to change your mindset and think more about problem solving as opposed to I have a problem. Find ways to solve the problem. Learn more about what your spouse may be going through. And
Mhm.
yeah, after a while you can sit and you can have that conversation. You can smile, you can laugh, you can if they
Mhm.
are limited as to what they can do, then you can find alternative means
Mhm.
of, of getting together again. You know,
Mhm.
but the most we can do is after you would have spent so many years, or even if it's a short time, if you would have spent so many years with your spouse, the best thing for you to do is to have be a person of integrity. He's ill now. I'm going to take care of him. The last person one would expect to turn or leave, get back and leave you is in a relationship, especially if you are emotionally connected and you have a good
Mhm.
relationship. To see that person walk out on you at the time you need them most,
Hurtful, hurtful,
it can cripple you mentally,
devastating.
devastation.
Mhm.
you know. So these are the things we would look at or should look at when we're talking about dealing and coping with chronic illness. Our mindset now have to change. We
Mhm.
did things this way, so now we have to change it because we are limited here. And you have a beautiful relationship still.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Mhm.
in all situation, all is not lost, I would want to say. Yes, sometimes your situation may be one whereby your spouse is incapacitated,
Mhm.
but even in that situation, you can still be happy and
Yes.
you can still make things work
Mhm.
because whereas you have to go out to work, you can have someone be there. Like you said, your friend had his mother came in and took care of his wife. As long as there is social support, your family, your friend, it will help anyone to get over any hurdle that they may be going through.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. And that support is so important, Doc.
it
Because
is.
um, like we talked about last week, that we could get so consumed on the person who is sick that we don't even think about the one who's nursing them to help them get back well. And
Yes.
you find out in situations like that, where the men or the person taking care of the sick one um, burns out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to be
I,
so
I,
careful.
I think, Dr. Alvin, that's a very valid point because, yes, you can get burnout, but that is where support from family, friends should come in to prevent your spouse from being burned out
Hmm.
because they're trying to deal with you all by themselves. And yes, that can burn you out. And that is why you may find some people, they just get fed up, I want divorce. But for those that are still striving,
Hmm.
even though it's hard, I commend those persons. I commend them because even in the midst of that, they are pushing to make it work. you know. But
Yeah.
it's not an easy thing, but I think the thing that will help person is a mind shift. A mind shift. It's not easy, but a mind shift will help you, you know, as opposed to looking at what you are faced with. Oh, my wife is sick, my husband is sick, he cannot walk again, he cannot go anywhere with me, we cannot enjoy intimacy together. We need to reverse our mindset. We still have each other. We can still talk to each other. We can
Hmm.
still be happy together. And that is how we build. And who knows it? Your spouse may get healed, your spouse
Yes.
may get better, but it's going to come through that love, that attention, that being able to just be there and help that person get through what they're going through.
Hmm. And that's what is needed, Doc. Being your presence is what is needed. Because
Yes.
one of the reasons why, and it goes back to even what I said, I did not marry Tanya because she's smart in math or because she's the best looking girl in the world. Because beauty is in the eye of the beholder. What I'm
Hmm.
calling beauty, somebody else may call ugly.
Hmm.
Um, but even if she was at this very moment the prettiest woman in the world,
Hmm.
babies are being born.
Yep. Yes. Yes.
So that can be the sole reason for the marriage.
Can't.
The marriage has to be based on some things,
Hmm.
based on some principles and some values.
Hmm.
And if those are still intact, then you need to just work it out.
Yes.
You need to hang in there and push, because that's either your wife or your husband that you've signed up for better or worse, in sickness and in health. So wow.
Yes. And Dr. Alvin, that emotional connection is actually the safe space
Hmm.
whenever there's a chronic illness. If there is no emotional connection or there's an emotional disconnect,
Hmm.
then I can see problem arising. Because only so, matter of fact, the person that may be ill will feel that distant. And that is where persons may not feel good trusting their spouse, you know. If they feel that disconnect, or if they feel as though they are being rejected in any way, then what happens is that individual will begin to close up. But
Yes.
make sure your spouse, what we need is our spouse that are going through the illness, that they feel that they are in a safe space, that you care for them, that you understand what they're going through. Because if you are saying you understand, but every time when they need you, you're not available, then there's a disconnect, and it's hard for healing to begin to take place with that individual. And there's some people, we spoke about this last week, Dr. Alvin. I've heard someone said they couldn't stand to see their spouse in such a condition. So rather than go into them, they stayed away. The thing is, we understand that, and it's not easy, but we just have to stop and put, what if we were in their position? And this is how we try to help people. Because if I put myself in their position, what would I want? Would I want to see someone come and help me? Would I want to see my spouse leave me? Um, so we put ourselves, we empathize with them,
Hmm.
and see what it feels like if we were in their situation. And then we can begin to help them because we realize that it's not easy, but a kind word,
Mm-hmm.
support here, or
Yes.
maybe bringing your medicine to you, or reading to make sure you're having the right medicine. All
Mm-hmm.
of these little things, it makes a whole lot of difference. Just a
Yes.
glass of water, or bring your tablets to you, and find out more about the illness, and see how maybe we can find a way out that will be helpful for you. And if we do all of those things, I believe that we will not so much see the problem as a mountain. We will see it as something that we can get through this. And that is what makes a difference. Realizing that we can go through this together, and believing that we can get through it, that things can change. That is a hope for the individual.
Yes. Yes. And dog too. That is where that love factor is so important. Be because it is the love that covers a whole multitude of faults. It is that glue. Love is like that glue that holds a man and his wife together. That even in the rough times, they are still bond, and that they can still push and make it. Because that's what this is all about. This is all about us being able to make it, that we can see our Savior's face, and we can live with Him in glory then. But while on earth, God allows us, husband and wife, to get married. And like Dr. Miles Monroe reminds us, marriage is a good idea because it is a God idea. And therefore, being a God idea, um, it was designed to work. And I think that that's why when they say those vows, they are going from extreme to extreme. Give us the worst case, give us the best case, and all in between just need to flow because be because I want you for better or worse. So anything in between just gotta satisfy.
Yeah. And Dr. Alvin, what do you think when you have both spouse living with chronic illness?
This is when you got to hope that you have children or you have connections. Because one of the things that we have found, and I look at our culture here in the Bahamas, so I will only speak to that culture, which is the Bahamian culture. It may what I'm about to say may happen in other cultures, but because I haven't examined their cultures as yet, I don't know. Um, but boy, dog, when we say for better or worse, that's what that is.
Yes.
For better or for worse.
Mm-hmm.
And you with all your teeth and you with your no teeth, that's for better or for worse. And we do that in our counseling sessions.
Mm-hmm.
We we encourage them, or we try to show them, listen, this beauty you see sitting here, if y'all are still married because you're alive 50 years from now, this person won't look the same way that they look. But you have to prepare yourself mentally for this, dog, because
Mm-hmm.
this is this is life out there.
Yeah.
You could just be driving down the street and get in an accident and that change your life forever.
Yeah.
But the vow was made and should be honored and kept
Mm-hmm.
till death.
Yeah.
Um, and I know, dog, I know someone listening to us will say that's easier said than done because you're not going through what I'm going through. And I understand that. Um, but if both of you are ill, chronically ill, you don't have any children that can help, then now you all got to um, feed off each other and or bring someone else in the house that can help. Like there's this kung fu movie that I love to watch back in the day, doc, where where one of the men was blind and the next one was deaf. So they partnered together. So the one who could see helped the one who couldn't see, and the one who could hear helped the one who couldn't hear. And that's just what have to happen. I remember in 2020 when COVID hit, both Tanya and I um, got COVID, and we got it to the point where we were in bed and rolling over, hurt for both of us. And it was in 2020 that I looked at Tanya and I said, "Who's going to take care of AJ and Naya?" Because we were hearing just about everybody who got COVID died, and both of us just laid in bed for days. My mother-in-law had to sneak out to try to see about her grandchildren. But then Tanya built up the energy because she was not as bad as I was, and she started doing stuff. You just gotta you just gotta learn to cope.
Hmm. I love that.
That's rough.
That's rough, but I love it. You worked it together. But
Yes.
there are some situations where no one can help each other.
Yeah.
But and then maybe the family may decide, well, look, we need to pull one out or let this one go to the family and let the
Hmm.
other one go to the family. But I feel that, you know, it's not an easy decision to make either.
Hmm.
It's not an easy decision. But for the most part, because they are husband and wife, it would be good to have someone to come in and help in their situation.
Hmm.
I love what your mother-in-law did. She came in and she dealt with the children. She
Hmm.
risked she risked her life because she
Hmm.
risked getting COVID to come in to take care. And
Hmm.
that shows that social support. That's all
Yes.
some people need is that social support, Dr. Alvin.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
understand people are busy, but then there comes a time we, just have to maybe pay someone to come in and be there. So
Yeah.
you can have a little free time. But the thing is, because they're one, we work this thing together. Because you could pull them apart and say, let me take daddy home to his, or let me take him home to his family, let me take her to her family. But the best thing you could do for both of them, keep them together and allow someone to be there to take care of them.
Yes.
One
Yeah.
or two persons.
Doc, the in that situation, the split up will only happen if they agree to that.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because splitting them up may be more detrimental to them. You may be harming them more than helping them.
Yes. Yes. Now, in old age, that is somewhat different.
Mm-hmm.
When I say old age, because sometimes we have both husband and wife in nursing homes.
Mm-hmm.
But if they are able to still be together in the
That would
family,
be good.
it'll be better as opposed
Mm-hmm.
to separating them.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're looking at someone you would have spent all your life with,
Mm-hmm.
the one person. And even if there's a mental issue, sometimes they do remember that one person. They
Mm-hmm.
may forget sometimes, but when they come back, they would remember. So, you know, coping with these type of situations is not easy, and it takes a lot out of people. but our
Mm-hmm.
mindset have to change. And I come back there, our mindset. We have to be able to master our minds and how we dealing with our situation,
Mm-hmm.
and it will help you as well as the person that are ill. You know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So next next week, Dr. Alvin, we will be looking at the mental side of chronic illness. We'll be looking at those that are dealing with mental issues,
Oh wow, yes.
and that's in itself is a challenge.
Yeah.
So you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
we
That
under, mhm,
that's a major challenge because
yes,
you have people who are physically well, but mentally they are off. They
yes,
are disturbed, and they're not one there, and that there can really wreck a marriage.
yes,
Because when you have someone who's not in touch with what we all assume to be reality as their reality, um, then what do you do?
yes,
Because you can feel helpless because you're trying to help someone um, who don't think it's them that need help. They think it's you that need to help.
yes.
Um, that's a serious issue
It sure
that
is.
that needs to be discussed.
Yes. And I want to let our audience know that they are listening to Love Bay Afro Beat Music Talk Radio, and we are talking about relationship and marriage. We're talking dealing with coping and dealing with chronic illness in a relationship and in marriage. And we invite you to subscribe, like, subscribe, and share our program, because we want to help those that are really going through situations that seems taxing on an individual.
Hmm.
Uh, Dr. Alvin, there are some organizations that deal strictly with situations where we have our loved ones that are dealing with chronic illnesses and are able to help themselves. So there are help around that we can engage for our loved ones and spouse, so that the burden is not too heavy on one person. If
Yeah.
there are if there are children involved and they are grown children, and so we don't want to put too much of the pressure on the children.
Hmm.
But if we can get that help from the family and share the responsibility, it will make it so much easier to deal with someone with chronic illness.
Yeah.
Doctor. Mhm.
Yeah. Because to doc, um, even when you and your spouse are well, you need time away. So if you need time away to catch yourself and to and to take care of you, if you need that when both of you are well, you just need that when one of you or both of you are ill. You do need that time that you can get away and and look at the totality of the issue, gather your strength, come back and fight again. And this is where family comes in. This is where you ask the in-laws, listen, could you come in for a day or two, give me a break so I can catch myself? And if they say no, if your parents or your siblings, one or two, don't want to come in, then I would rather you spend the money to bring somebody in to look after. Because if you become mentally drained and you become so mentally tired that you don't know even how to think, then you make it worse on yourself.
That's right. Because actually, being in a chronic illness state, it's a helpless feeling, Dr. Alvin. It's a feeling of hopelessness and helplessness. And that's why we need to help be there for one another. I agree with you. You know, if you're in health and all is well, and you need that break at times, imagine when you're in a helpless state and you need someone, you know. But
Yeah.
one thing I can say, we should not allow it to control us, Dr. Alvin. Yes, it may be a chronic illness, but we have to, not allow it or don't let it control you. In other words, sometimes people will, you can feel sorry for yourself. You can say, well, why is this happening? We can find everything that will make us feel, you know, down and feel like, we're at the worst end. But
Mm-hmm.
we can also rise above it and not let it control us. Sometimes I know I've spoken to people that are ill with chronic
Mm-hmm.
illness, and they make
Mm-hmm.
a joke about it.
Mm-hmm.
They make a joke about it. They, even though you wonder how do you feel, but they're joking about it. Now, is it that they just trying to keep themselves seen? So
And
they,
that could be the case.
yeah,
That could be their dealing mechanism. That could be
that's
how
right.
they handle the problem.
That's right. So we just have to find a way to rise above it, even though you may be afraid. Because when you realize that I have my mobility, I'm fine today, and then tomorrow I find myself in a helpless state where I cannot help myself, that is frightening. But after the dust is settled and we understand what we're dealing with, then we have to begin to do some homework. Then we're going to have to do some things. And I can choose to let this pull me down. I can also choose to use this as a stepping stone, or use this, maybe speak to someone else that is going through similar situation, as opposed to letting it, really get to me and my mind is all twisted and I'm can't help myself and can't help anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's how we can't dwell on the problem. We cannot dwell, but we have to begin to find ways how we can use this and work it. And I
And
think
and
if we do that, we'll be better. Mhm.
and let's be real, Doc. Let's be real out there. And we don't want to minimize or trivialize anybody in their situation,
That's right.
because um, your situation is unique to you, and the
Yes.
load you have to carry, only you one really know that load to bear. But on the greater scheme of things, we have examples of people who has gone through this and has come out on top. We've had
Yes.
persons who loved ones were in the hospital sick, and they still had to carry on.
Hmm. That's right.
They still had to make it work.
Hmm.
And just like you aren't the first, you won't be the last.
No. No.
The decisions are still up to you. What are you going to do? Are you
Yeah.
going to step up to the plate and say, I made a vow and I'm going to keep this vow? Or are you going to say, boy, even though I did say for better or for worse, I didn't mean this ways? And then you walk away. But
Yes.
then that then shows, now that's the test.
Yes.
That's the test of the depth of your love. Was it true love?
That's right.
Because, Doc, many people are marrying not because of what you and I may say is true love. They married it because of love, and the love is themselves. What can you do for me?
Yeah.
And it looked like you could take care of me, so I could marry you.
Hmm.
And it's not it is not about we become soulmates, or I love you being so that we could live together forever. Some
Yeah.
people some people love you as long as you could take care of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when you can't take care of them anymore, then we
It's
go on our
going.
separate ways.
Yes. Yes. And that is so true. But because in the relationship you did it, if you made the vow, because as we've said, some people write their own vows.
Yeah.
I know a young man when he was being married and the preacher reached the part for better or for worse. He said he spoke against it. He said not for better or for worse. He took all the good part, but he rejected the for better or for worse. So we have to, if we make that vow, we're gonna have some good days, we're gonna have some bad days, and we're gonna have to take them all like a man and keep moving forward. You know,
Yes.
if we want our relationship to work, then we have to take the good with the bad and try to see how best we can deal with it, cope with it, in order
Yeah.
to keep you sane, to keep you
Mhm.
sane. You
And
know,
Doc, in our
and
last,
as I've started out with this young man, and I cannot help but repeat this story. When I look at this young man, 21 years old, a double amputee,
mhm, yes,
double amputee, and he has a pleasant attitude. So
yes,
we have to just, our mindset, Dr. Alvin, our
hmm,
mindset. We have to master our, and when we cannot master our mind, then we will have to deal with um, Dr. James, who will be with us next week. We will have to
yeah,
meet with someone because we refuse to get our minds in
hmm,
order.
hmm,
Rather than let our minds control us, we control,
yeah,
So we have to, you know, change the way we're thinking. Stop looking
yeah,
at the problem. Oh, my husband can't walk anymore. My wife can't walk, or my husband has cancer, or my wife has cancer. How
hmm,
do I deal with it? Look on the
hmm,
bright side. Help them to enjoy life to the fullest. In the event they are taken from us, then at least you would have made them happy. You would have made them comfortable. And you would have feel better because you would have done all that you could in,
yes,
in a situation like that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, Dr. Alvin, our last few minutes, what do you have to say to someone who may be going through um, their difficult or in this hard place, having to deal with chronic illness, have to
Um,
keep have children in the home, a job to maintain, and all of the other stuff?
okay. One of the first things I would say, and people may disagree with me, but that's on them. One of the first things I must say, Doc, for me to take care of Tanya better than I am, I need to make sure Alvin is okay.
Okay.
And you can spend so much time focusing on the other person that it gets you sick.
Mhm.
So, coping mechanism, one of the things is that you need to have some time for you where you can unwind, where you can rejuvenate,
Mhm.
where you can vacate so that you can be the best version of you, that when you go into the situation, you can be a help and not a burden.
Mhm.
So if that means that you got to go to dinner by yourself one night, let somebody come and sit in with your loved one, you go and you have a good time. If that means, I'm going to talk with the Bahamas because that's where we are. If that means you in your car by yourself ride out to the beach and just enjoy that natural air, that fresh air from the Lord, then you do that.
Mhm.
And you come back to the situation and you be a help in that situation. What does that mean? If your loved one needs somebody to cook, either you cook or you hire someone to do it. If the loved one needs somebody to bathe them off, either you do it or you have to hire someone to do it. Um, but you should not just leave that person there to themselves. That right there is a sign that were you really in this for the person? Because I believe that from marriage, this is what should happen, Doc. My number one goal should be to make sure that Tanya's taken care of. And Tanya's number one goal should be to make sure that Alvin is taken care of. And once we have done all of that, then we could move on. Once we have made sure that everybody's taken care of, then we could go to the next part of this. Um, so you need to spend some quality time with yourself so you can be empowered. That was my first thing. Then my second thing is that when you come to the situation, come to be a help. And then when you cannot help, because there will be times where you won't be able to do, find the person who can. And I pray that it's another family member, which then should make your life a bit easier. But in coping, you're going to have to schedule times for you.
Dr. Alvin, that is so, so true. And you summed it up so well because we have to have time for ourselves. We have to, make sure we are well. Because if we are not taking care of us, how would we be able to continue to take care of our spouse?
So
So the
true.
first thing is to make sure, and Dr. Alvin, you hear it even when you're on the plane. They're
Yes.
telling you if in the event something happened, make sure you put on your mask first. And if you travel with little kids, then you put on your mask. So our responsibility, take care of you first, and then you are in a position to take care of that person that is chronically ill. And if we do that, it makes life easier. Yes, it may be a tough situation, but at least
It
you will
will
be in a
be.
it will be you will be in a good frame of mind to think straight to be able to deal with the situation without being stressed out. Because if you are
Mhm.
stressed out, that you're walking time bomb because all you need is enough stress and then you pretty soon you'll be sick yourself. So take care of yourself, find help if you must to help with the person that is chronically ill. And once you can get help, it gives you time to be able to go to work, take care of the household, do whatever you can do. And at the same time, be able to care or sit and listen to your spouse that is chronically ill. So, Dr. Alvin, that's all it takes. And if we continue to look at it in that light, then it will not be as hard as we think it is. So we want you and our listening audience to like, subscribe, and share. Share our
Yes.
program. This month we have been dealing with illness in a relationship. And of course, next month it's the love month. So we will be sharing everything about love. We have two more guests for this session on
Mm-hmm.
health and wellness. We have Dr. Dames, who will come in next week and share about mental illness in a relationship. And then we have Dr. LaShanta Smith. She will be back with us to share about our issues that can cause chronic illness and how we should take care of ourselves to prevent it. So you're listening to Love Bay Afrobeat Music Radio Talk Show. And we want you to love, share, and subscribe. Uh,
Yes.
and if you have any questions, we want you to please send in your question. You can WhatsApp your question to us. and we would be happy to share. Our number is 437 778 3299, and that's WhatsApp, and that's 437 778 3299.
Mhm.
Send us a text, let us know you're listening, or send us any comments or questions. We'd be happy to hear from you. So
Yes, you will.
we're not out of content, but we're surely out of time. So
Yeah.
join us next week on Sunday at 3 p.m. when we will have our young Dr. Dames, Tamika Dames, and she is a psychiatrist here at the um, hospital in Nassau. She will be joining us next week. So I'll see you on next week, Dr. Alvin, and we
Yes.
say to you, have a great evening.
You do the same. Blessings and peace.